two, one. Booster ignition and liftoff. All systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, Lat B, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
This episode of Lesbo and the Bean is brought to you by Lather & Co. That's latherandcompany.com for all your bath and body needs.
This is an exclusive for Lesbo and the Bean. Remember to type in LATB, L-A-T-B, 15 for 15% off. Any purchases over $25 will give you free shipping. U.S. domestic for now. Wait till later.
That's a really good deal for Lesbo and the Bean. So once again, that's latherandcompany.com for all your organic, cruelty-free bath and body needs. And on to the show.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Episode 182. We're going to Prague. Woo! It's going to be a fun one. We have so many other fights on the way. It's been heavy weeks. I got footage. I got work. I got school. It doesn't matter because we got a Sunday fun day. Whoa. Shot out of a cannon. We got a Saturday morning card in the United States. Look at your local listings. But, Lesbo, how have you been since we last met? We had a good one on a Monday show.
I have been listening to a philosophy podcast, but it's not heavy. I wish I could remember philosophize this, maybe? It's very like philosophy for laymen. Like, it's really cool, and it's really nice, and it has a way of walking into every single idea. I like philosophy, and I just learned too. Philosophy stands for, do you know what it means? You were just in the class?
I'm taking currently a philosophy of art right now.
Oh.
So it's not philosophy. It's
I had
specific.
a friend that took that class. We spent a lot of times at museums, and I didn't know what I was...
Don't take it if you don't have to. I have to, and it is garbage.
I took philosophy, and
sounds funner than art
in school, but this thing I never knew. Out of all the time I took philosophy, it means to love knowledge.
I can dig that.
That's all you're doing is asking. You're just asking and keep questioning, and a lot of even some philosophers were like fanzines of other philosophers. Like in the same way, if you loved Harry Potter and you wrote like a fan fiction of Harry Potter characters, right. Some philosophers were just that to other philosophers.
Correct.
And they would write, like, if this philosopher met this philosopher and had a conversation, this is what it would sound like. They would philosophize that conversation, write it down, and they're some of the most famous philosophers.
Lat be getting in, philosophizing.
Anyways, you know how we like to open up, but speaking of philosophy, we were talking about the question of whether or not Ronda Rousey ruined her legacy because she didn't take her loss well. And she didn't ever come out to the post-fight pressers after those losses. She never spoke to us again. It's like a jaded lover. She just turned around and walked away and never came back. And you're like, what did I do? What happened? So in my opinion, she did. What's yours?
I totally agree. The fact that she left us on a thread and eventually opened up to some news broadcaster, some generic owned company that's the three letters, and she's just kind of like, oh, I dealt with it and now I'm doing this. It was just such a F you to the face of fans that got her that job, because she would have never been a WWE superstar without the UFC, which was created by the fans. We are the ones who did this. And maybe all I gotta do is say, what was she, judoka? She was a heavy-duty American judoka, but bad taste in our mouth. It left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, I think.
Yeah, and it might have been really hard for her to take a loss, I understand, but by the second time, like, come on, say something. And people say, well, that's fair weather fandom. And no, it's not. And the other people that say women's MMA would have never happened without Ronda Rousey. Women's MMA was happening without Ronda Rousey.
It was a matter of time.
If you take away Conor McGregor, there leaves a vacuum that maybe one superstar doesn't fill, but maybe like a John Jones and a DC and a Cowboy Cerrone and a Nate Diaz fill. if there wasn't a Ronda Rousey or Ronda Rousey, there might have been a Miesha Tate, a Holly Holm, and Amanda Nunes and a Shevchenko.
Somebody would have came around.
Like Joanna Jędrzejczyk. You know, like what kind...
I do think that even though Cyborg isn't necessarily the most attractive female fighter, her dominance is what would bring the fans to it, because eventually that's what combat sports gets to. Looks are the superficial. Looks are the farewell fandom. The actual skills and devastation of opponents is what brings people's eyes. So I feel like it was a matter of time till you had one of these other promotions have Cyborg be 30-0 and just murking girls.
Or even Amanda Nunes at 135 and Invicta just walking through, 30 girls. Eventually she's going to become one of those
UFC
people where
would've
people
picked them
are
up.
like, we have to watch this person.
Yeah, well, we have to create a division because we could be making that money instead of them, which is why it all started in the first place and why we're at where we're at. And it's going to keep on growing. That's why we love this sport. We're still so brand new in the infancy. We just went corporate.
We did. It's the WME era. What are we going to do? One thing, I feel like the last few shows we start and I go on this ramble of what I've been listening to or whatever. But fans like it. You know, they want to know. They want to know, what have you been listening to?
Well, I've been my nose deep in a few books on audio. I learned a while ago that I can't read all that philosophy art stuff, but listen to it on Chegg. That's legit. I'm actually able to absorb the knowledge a lot more, but...
I'm an audio learner.
I definitely am as well.
It's how I retain my best information.
It saved me the second time around at school where I'm not necessarily having to read it because that takes up time and I don't absorb it well that way. Listening to it, boom, I can bam it out, get my papers out. The only thing is, it does take up a lot of time, so I can't be listening to all my favorite podcasts because I have my repertoire that I listen to, so I have very limited time right now to open up new avenues of
Isn't
listening.
it kind of funny when you're listening to the podcast or listening to anything? It's almost the form that other humans feel like is the most disrespectful form. If you're reading a book, they leave you be. If you're watching TV, they leave you be. But if you're listening to something, they don't like it. They're like, I hate when you have your earphones in. What are you doing? What are you listening to? I want to hear it. No, you don't. You don't want to.
100%. You do not want to know if Sasquatch was abducted by aliens and impregnated. You don't want to know that. That's for me.
You don't want to know.
So, there's tons of good listening out there. Classic off of the MMA verse that helps break up that monotony, though. Mysterious Universe been going on for a while. That one always has some really fun, weird topics at times. Sometimes they send you down rabbit holes of Hellier, which is garbage. Do not watch that documentary. Save your time. It's all that Ghost Hunter crap just relabeled and thrown back in your face.
Oh, I hate Ghost Hunter shit.
Exactly. They just relabeled it and they're not Ghost Hunters anymore. Now
you know what my favorite explanation for ghosts? We're going there.
Yeah, we getting there.
We're going
You
there.
wanted it.
My favorite explanation for ghosts right now is that it is another, almost like a parallel timeline going on at the same time, and it's eeping through.
Henan Barouk is one of those ghosts. Just barely living in this dimension.
Oh my gosh, speaking of a guy barely living in this dimension, GSP retiring Thursday.
Is it official? Because GSP's done this 3, 4, 5 times already.
Thank you.
And come on, guys.
Thank you.
The only person more credible than George St. Pierre is Dana White right now. Get out of here. Get out of here, GSP.
True.
It's a media stunt. He's probably going to look into dinosaurs with his friends.
Yeah, or it's a media stunt. He's going to sit there and then it'll be like, my next fight's versus Conor McGregor. And it'll be like, we kept it all under wraps.
I would like to challenge Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
I am not entertained.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. I will come down in my UFO and I will beat up Khabib in Russia for Canada and we will be the world power. I don't know.
And I don't remember what happened.
We were going to talk about something else too. One more thing.
The other was sports betting insights before we get into our betting card for the weekend out of Prague. We got a headliner that's off the chain. But
I just wanted to say that I was doing this whole crazy fraction for years and years and years in my sports betting, and the way I decided if odds were good or not, or when I talked about a fighter, and it just dawned on me in the last few weeks that if you just look, and he was saying we should say this on air. He's known it for a long time, because it might be good for a lot of people who don't understand it at all. So if you look at the odds as $100, and you either would have to spend, if it's under money, if you see the negative sign, you'd have to spend $100 to get that amount back.
Correct.
And if it's a plus sign, you have to spend that amount of money to get $100.
Correct.
Easy parcheesi. Oh my gosh. I could have, before I was doing it like full high school algebra in my head. You had to do it in an order of like outside the parentheses, inside, fraction, carry over, powered by. It was crazy. So anyways, yeah, it's not that exciting, I guess.
Use $100 standard. It just takes all of the cents out of it. Like literally the cents, and it just turns it into bucks. Been doing it a long time. There's really easy tutorials as well, sports betting.
I was turning the number into a fraction and then seeing if it was good that way. Like silly.
Right.
So
We don't
silly.
need to tell them a crazy ass fraction.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it doesn't need to be there.
It's boring. It's boring.
It's normal.
It's boring.
It's normal. But this weekend, we are going to have some of those fractions come into play because we are going to have a lot of favorites, and unfortunately, we'd like to tell you whether it's going to be a good weekend for betting, and there ain't a lot of underdogs, if any at all. We're going to get into why for UFC.
What about Cody Garbrandt talking shit to Aljamain Sterling?
Prague. But before we get there, Cody Garbrandt has never been known to be the nicest or level-headed guy, and he's talking shit off a bunch of losses and hasn't fought. And Aljo has come back with a 3-fight winning streak after getting knocked out and looked better than ever.
I love Aljo. I want to call him my dark horse of the division. # no racist.
Are they talking about that, or does Cody have a fight coming up?
Cody has a fight against Pedro Munoz.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting fight. That's a tough fight. Actually, that's a pretty good challenge. I could see Aljo fighting either one of those opponents and it being a good step.
I agree. I do like that fight for the win. Aljo gets the winner of that.
Correct. But we got to pick a lot of other winners before we get there.
All right. Let's do it.
At UFC.
You know, if you're here, we
3.
always talk shit beforehand.
Oh, definitely. Is this one going to be on?
I'll save it. I'll save
UFC
it.
Plus or ESPN Plus?
I don't know, but I will look it up.
I believe it is on ESPN Plus. Coming out of Eastern Europe. Where is Prague? Is that right? Poland, Russia?
Oh,
the height. I am bad. Dude, off the top of your head, you know where Prague's at?
I would say
Spain.
I don't know at all.
All right.
That's why I was saying, oh my god, I can't believe you just said this aloud and make us both look so good. That's what I was gonna say when I said
damn
it. I would say it's either Prague. It seems like we know it's in Europe.
Correct.
Let me narrow it down. I'm just going to talk it out and make myself look like an idiot. I wish there was the sound of an old school like calculator with that pull down handle. So I would say I like Greece.
Okay.
But Greece is Italy.
Definitely.
So I like Italy. No, I like it near those areas. I see like a lot of ancient architecture in Prague. I like what you said about it's gonna so I'm gonna go with Italy. What is Prague?
It is in the Czech Republic.
I was gonna say Czech Republic and then I swear to on Labby, I was gonna say Czech Republic and then I thought, I don't know if that's Europe. So even make myself look that much more ridiculous.
That's too funny. I was just thinking Eastern Europe somewhere. I didn't know where. But
sorry, Prague. Well, we know forever now.
I just think Prague rock. And I don't know where necessarily that's from other than Eastern Europe. That's what I was
one of the philosophy things I learned actually is The only difference between a dumb man and a smart man is a smart man knows the knowledge that a dumb man can learn today. Like, they can learn it.
Oh,
and then
interesting.
now they're a smart man. So, yeah. Pretending you know is dumb. Saying I don't know.
It's not the worst thing in the world. We figured out.
And it's not even our first UFC in Prague for us. Is it?
No, I believe we did go a few years ago, but off the top of my head.
Prague, Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
I wish I would have
Now
gone
we
with
know.
3. Damn it. I thought I was going to say Czech Republic, and you'd be like, well, that's in Russia. I don't know. Czech Republic. Well, that's in California.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually
Sorry, geography and spelling aren't my thing.
But we're here to make money, which is our thing. We do like to do a lot more of that. And we're going to end up starting off the 13-card bout on Saturday morning. It's going to be a short one in between fights coming off of that Sunday card, which we did well in. It's going to start at 155 pounds from the bottom all the way to the top. We're going to go with Damir Islamagov versus debuting Joel Alvarez, who is a Spanish fighter, 15-1. Alvarez really likes to get it done in there with submissions. We have seen the 17-1 fighter, Damir, come in and defeat Alex Georges, which the bean here is so high on putting money against Georges. I do not think that guy is UFC caliber. So the fact that Damir was a minus 450 favorite, debuting against another debut fighter, and he went to decision, didn't leave a good taste in my mouth because the finish should have been there. He's an M1 striker who really likes to go to his wrestling. And the fact that Georges even was landing half of anything really scared me as far as to the level that we hadn't seen from Damir. Again, that M1 and all those Eastern European leagues are thin. So Damir, from what we did see off his last fight, goes to the takedown and will go for position over submission. He'll even supersede the ground and pound, so DraftKings doesn't look all that good potentially in there. But Joel Alvarez, being off of that Spanish scene, he really has fought 15-1 record, only has a loss, and mainly his wins have been by submission. Is it submission? Hold on. There's a couple
All
debuers.
submission.
He has one knockout, I believe, in there, but I did watch that fight, and both of them dudes were swinging like crazy. They both closed their eyes and swung, and their homeboy fell down first. But what Alvarez likes to do is jump on that guillotine and roll for Darces, not even roll necessarily. A lot of his fights that I saw, both him and his opponent were literally flailing out there and just kind of landing in position. Joel being the guy who landed in better position most of the time. So there's something to be said against that. But against Islam, he should not have any issues at all. He's shown that he can put a ground game and actually has decent striking. Alvarez, again, the caliber is super low. I didn't like what I saw from Alvarez's striking. His ground game as well. He's getting submit guillotines and Darces on really low guys. I don't think in the UFC this is going to fly. I don't think if he stays in Spain that we see Joel long in here. Damir's going to get another decision. I'm siding with the favorite here. I don't like what I'm seeing, though, in either fighter. Who do you have in this fight?
I'm going to pick the underdog, and I'm going to go with Alvarez submission round 2. He's been in enough fights with good enough guys with big enough records. It's not a bunch of shills, and he just seems quick with a submission. I've watched no tape on it. I'm going to stay far away from this fight. But to me, there's just money to be made in a specialist right now over a guy that isn't necessarily UFC caliber. So I'm going to go with the specialist. I know. Stick with what I know. But I don't really know Ismagulov. He's been in one fight. It was lackluster against a lackluster person. I think I'm going to go with the guy from the local guy from the Czech Republic, because as far as I know, it could be in either Spain or Orenburg, Russia. No, I'm just going to pick Alvarez submission round 2. I could change it just to pad how good I've been doing.
Right, not to give up a fight so easily.
Yeah, but or go heavy with the underdog, but I'm going to stay away from the fight.
Damir, minus 250 favorite against the plus 210 Alvarez. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,200 for Damir against Alvarez's $7,000. I really, really thought he was going to be able to put away Georgie's, and the fact that he didn't really has me hesitant paying anything over 9. He did end up getting 89,000 on that Georgie's fight, but such low fight IQ for Demir.
89,000?
Or 89 points.
89 points.
89 points.
We were talking about the odds.
Sorry.
You just like rounded up, you moved the decimal.
Right. For 9,200, you can't trust him. You just can't trust him. He might get that, especially against, I'd say a little bit better
stay
than
far,
numbers.
far away. Anyone on the first fight of the night for over 9, stay away from that.
That's probably the best call of the night so far. But then we move
First
on.
call.
We stay in the 155-pound division, coming in with 2 veterans in Rustam Khabilov versus Diego Ferreira. This is a sneaky one, starting off early in Prague. This is the fight of the night contender. All sorts of fun matchup. Diego Ferreira is coming off of a 3-fight winning streak, being 14-2, only losing in the UFC to Beneil Dariush and Dustin Poirier. Those don't look horrible. But beating OAM, Kyle Nelson as of late, 2 months ago, he ended up knocking that guy out. But he also has a win over Jared Gordon in there, TKO punches. Ferreira has made a name with his striking, and we cannot forget that initially he was a submission guy. He's one of these guys that actually has been able to all around move up his MMA game, and really like what we're seeing with Ferreira. Other than his chin, he gets sat down a little bit in fights at times, and it's because he moves forward and a walk into punches. The trajectory for the 34-year-old has been really positive, but against a Russian like Khabilov, any Russians, the 23-3 fighter is coming off of a huge winning streak. I think it's 5 in a row. I believe he lost to Benson Henderson years ago. He's been in the fight game for a while, but we haven't seen him for 5 months. Last defeating Raging Cajun Johnson in a split decision. He ended up finally getting Cajun Johnson out of the UFC. Khabilov was a humongous favorite there. Ended up going to a dirty-ass split because the Russian gassed. He throws heavy into his punches. Has got really heavy wrestling. I believe he has a Sambo background, so you always got to be careful with those leg locks, even though he hasn't really shown them. But Ferreira here, super sneaky everywhere. Throws good body punches, moves him up to the head. Ferreira's clinch is nasty, and if he gets taken to the ground, Ferreira does not just lay on his back. Ferreira throws up triangles, goes for sweeps. A lot of Russians tend to really stall out and get that position and just win that decision. And for that reason, I'm going to pick Khabilov. But the finish, I see the more likely finish for Ferreira. I'm going to be tentative on this. I have Khabilov decision. By the end of the week, depending on weigh-ins, I could side with Ferreira. I'm sticking with the favorite right now, slight favorite. I got Khabilov. Who do you have in this fight, and why? This is a fun one.
Out of the Russians, Khabilov is one of my least favorites. I don't really think he stands up to performance, and in my opinion, Cajun Johnson won that last fight. So if you lost to Cajun Johnson, you're going to lose to Ferreira. Ferreira's going to wear you out. He's a little better everywhere, and I think that he has sharp hands, like you were saying. I could see a body shot ending the fight, but I definitely know the body shot will wear on the cardio, and the cardio of Khabilov will wear down, and I could see him getting submitted in the 3rd round, but otherwise I have Ferreira winning by decision. This isn't a local fight where we have to really worry about it for either guy, where it's going to be pulled heavy favorite either way. Khabilov, I know he's on this long streak, but he's kind of, I think he's reached his peak, and I like what Ferreira's doing right now. So I'm going to go with another underdog.
Woo! 2 in a row. And I like what you're saying as well. As hesitant as I'm being as well.
Don't you remember we thought Cajun won that fight during it? We were surprised when they raised his hand.
Even as I broke it down
and we had
earlier.
Khabilov, so we were glad that Cajun didn't win. But when we
Correct.
were watching the fight, we were like, ooh.
Remember this? I did start off this fight by saying the Russian gasses.
And, yeah, you did.
I'm going to end up switching decision to Ferreira. Got an underdog. You swayed me. Woo! Gonna keep
so
moving
much
on.
Pressure. Yeah, you better fucking chill.
Rustam Khabilov being 8,700 on DraftKings against Ferreira's 7,500. Ferreira plus 125 underdog against the minus 120 favorite. That's a fun one. Really, I'm really excited for that fight. I think we could easily see that being a contender for fight of the night. I'm minus 145 hobble off. I was wrong on that line, by the way. Then we move on to the 170 pounders where we have the ever perennial tractor in there. We have Miguel Prazeres against Islam Nurdiev. Nurdiev is a short notice replacement. About a week and a half, and Nurdiev's coming in here. The 17-2 fighter is an Austrian fighter, 22 years old. Actually looks pretty filled out. Ended up catching some tape on him. His only loss as of late in the last year and 4 months was a decision. He ended up wearing a good amount of punches in there. He has fought in AFC as well, XFN, which I don't know too much about, but the ABC has better talent than most European cards out there. So he likes to brawl. He comes in there and swings hard. Technique, little out the door for Nurdiev. He throws all of his weight into his punches. He'll throw spinning elbows and kicks and shit, and actually has pretty good tech, and he throws shit tons of power in it. So he's one of these guys who's looking to catch you, and he's not worried about going to the ground. As far as what I've seen, I don't know if it was a competition level against.
He's kind of cute. The Austrian Wonder Boy.
For 20 years old, he's like the... I just really liked what I saw from him on tape. And if it wasn't a short notice fight against Miguel Prazeres, who's a perennial dark horse at 155 and 70, who I think the biggest bet should be, is he going to make weight?
I was just going to say the same thing.
He moved by 5 pounds against 170.
Have we ever seen him make weight one time in the UFC?
At 55 or 70, we have. Maybe twice at 55 out of like 7 fights. And not at 170. I believe he's missed twice at 170 pounds.
So yeah, expect him to come over. And that's almost like your sure bet. If he comes in over, then you're like solidified.
Stack it on there.
Yeah.
Stack the money on there. But the recklessness of the young fighter is going to cause him to work right into the veteranship of Prazeres, who likes to throw that overhand right into a takedown and use that wrestling, ground and pound, and north-south chokes to wear you out. I mean, everybody that you see in there with Prazeres, Zach Cummings included, who I picked in that because I said Zach Cummings, D1 wrestler, is going to be able to get it. Only time I picked against Prazeres. Boy, was I wrong. Woo, was I wrong. Prazeres walked right through him. Gas tank for days. Dare I say, we're in Prague, Eastern Europe. USADA is going to be back and away, back into the left with Kane.
Can we at least say this? He always misses weight and he never fights where USADA's there.
So, other reasons.
Not that it matters, because half of USADA works for the UFC. Jeff Novinsky, I thought the whole time, he's as federal as the Federal Reserve. 100%. I thought the whole time that Jeff Novinsky was USADA, and then if you look up on his Twitter, UFC employee, like, bitch, shut that, what are you even doing talking about the, this is a conflict of interest, Pico, Mr. Pico.
But unfortunately for the young fighter, he's going to have to take an L just to get into the UFC. And I think that eventually we are going to be able to make money on this young man. Just not in this spot. The line opened at minus 210 for Prazeres. Shot over to minus 420 Miguel Prazeres. Think the lines are saying something. He's going to be tainted all the way around. But I'm going to be likely putting Prazeres everywhere because stylistically, this is one of those that you're going to have to pay up for the fighter, but he's going to win this fight.
Submission 1 or 2. That's what I have.
The
round
hard
2.
call.
I have round 2.
I have round 1.
I'm going to move it to round 1. I actually had round 2 because I was giving the other kid some credit, but on the short notice extra, yeah.
I think Prazeres eats 2 punches from this kid and is
comes in forward, ground and pound,
and grounds him because this kid hits hard. He really does, and he doesn't care about getting taken down. But the guys he was taken down against, they're garbage. So not all of them, most of them though. So Prazeres heavy favorite for a reason there. 9,400 heaviest price on DraftKings for Prazeres. There's a reason for it against. The debuting fighter Nurdiev at 6,800. Unfortunately, or 6,800. I don't think you can put him
I think
anywhere.
he should make his name Ishmael, the Chronicles of Nardiev,
That's dope. What's his nickname now?
the Austrian Wonder Boy.
It's too long.
The Chronicles of Nardiev are clever.
That isn't a bad one.
People would be
Not
like,
at
that's the best nickname in the UFC.
On to the 55ers. We're really profiling the 55ers in Prague. They're going to get a real show because it tends to be the premier weight class, I feel like, as far as fun fights. And we have another fight of the year, potentially, in my eyes here. This is one that could go down in the history books because we have Polo Reyes coming off of a contender of fight of the year and notorious fight of the night winner against Damir Hadzovic, who is a 12-4, 32-year-old Danish fighter. I know he's been training in the States since he's been in the UFC. He's ended up having quite a few fights already in the UFC, not settling for just one fight. He, short notice, lost against Taisumov in a TKO, but has come back, beat Marcin Held in a fight that he was essentially losing with takedowns, and ended up also losing to, who was the other fighter he lost to here? Alan Patrick. It was that wrestling that really got away from Hadzovic. His takedown defense isn't the best, and he can't get up against a wrestler. And Nick Hine, who he went to a decision and ended up beating via split. Hine really doesn't go to his wrestling anymore. He's a judoka, and it showed that Hadzovic is a good Muay Thai striker. Great fundamentals, great jab, not tons of power on his shots, kills you by 1,000 cuts, throws fun elbows in there as well, but at times will get a little reckless in the brawl and rely on that chin. He's been able to wear it well so far. I like his movement on the exit as well. Again, his elbows are getting better. Against Polo Reyes, pressure fighter, has a gas tank, willing to eat a shot, but I was looking at some of his stacks, and the strike differential for Polo Reyes is sneakily deceptive, and it's a positive for him. Even though he tends to eat a lot of shots, he actually lays about 3 to 4 punches to one of his opponents, and his opponents as of late being James Vick, which is his only loss in there. He beat Matt Frivola over a year ago, beat Jason Novelli, beat Dang Ma, Maestro Ma in the fight of the year there, but Polo Reyes has never shot a takedown in the UFC, and Hadzovic has only shot one in the fight that he lost against Patrick. So we ain't going to the ground. This is going to stay striking.
Banger.
This is going to be a banger. The more looping puncher here, Polo Reyes. He tends to duck his chin a little bit more, throw that overhand right and left, and a solid punch combination. He, though, does throw 3-4 punch combinations together. What I don't know is if he was out for the last year and a month due to injury, or if it was contractual disputes, because that kind of affects it. If he's coming off a knee injury, hadn't really figured it out yet. But regardless, I really like that this is just one you got to watch. I'm going to side with the favorite here, Reyes, but I think Hadzovic's a live dog in here. I can't go super heavy in the paint, but this is one of those fights that's the Barberina Luque that we just saw, where I think you potentially could stack this fight, where they go into the third round and are throwing. Both of these
so
guys
many punches, so many
throw over
punches,
100 when they stay
eat.
striking.
Just eat punches the whole way through.
Exactly. I think this could be a sneaky DK play if you decide to stack it. I could be totally crazy. I don't know. You could call me crazy. What do you think is going to end up going down in this fight?
I really like both fighters. I think this is a great fight. I don't think Hadzovic's chin's is good. Going to decision with Alan Patrick. If you don't get submitted by Alan Patrick and you can't finish him, that's weird to me. Just stand it like I can't remember that fight to watch tape enough,
City.
but just
That was it.
Yeah, that's just then maybe he has made good enough takedown defense or good enough submission defense to not have gotten submitted the whole fight and then just have ended up on his back the whole time. I do like what you're saying, that this is such like a setup fight that neither guy is going to the ground and they're just going to stand and throw. The best thing about Hadzovic here is that he is local. He doesn't have to do as much traveling. And I can't say either guy really has better competition. They're both about the same.
I would say, though, Reyes has more fights against better competition. Not the Frivola necessarily, even though he didn't look bad, but that Maestro Ma.
I don't mind Alan Patrick. I don't mind Nick Hine.
True.
I don't mind Marcin
right.
Held.
That's right. Marcin Held's out of the UFC officially.
I know, but back then I didn't mind him. I don't mind Tazumov's
a monster.
Yeah, so then it's like
That's a good point.
Frivola, Vic, Novelli, Ma, who's now
Maestro.
I think they're about the same. This is such a close fight. I kind of like what you're saying about the live underdog, about the stacking. I have Reyes KO around 2. I think he's going to catch him. I hope he's coming back fresh. But I'm going to make a new rule for Lat B.
Oh, interesting.
I believe ring rust is real. And I don't like over a year. I'm going to stay far away from this fight. Even though I do think Polo Reyes is favorited, I like the live underdog better. I think for the money. This fight makes me too nervous.
How is that a rule for Lat B?
No, a new rule for me.
Okay.
A new
I was
rule
just thinking.
for
Okay.
Lat B that I'm going to say for myself is I believe ring rust is real
I thought
and
that
I'm
was
going
like
to
a
stay
stay
away.
away. I thought that was like a stay away first fight of the night.
Well, you don't stay away from first fights of the night.
No, true.
We have totally different rules.
That's a good
Mine
point.
are just, I'm starting to hone mine in and I don't like, I'm going to stay far
So the
away from
interesting
this.
thing-
I like Hadzovic better here.
Interesting thing with this fight actually right now is Polo Reyes plus 100 or even money against Hadzovic minus 120, but on many cards they're minus 115, minus 115. This is officially a pick'em, but if you want to go with Reyes and DraftKings, you're going to end up having to pay $8,800, which is closer on your side than mine, because I say decision where you say finish, and that's where
I'm
that
changing
8-8
it to
says it.
Hadzovic decision.
Oh.
I am just thinking about it. I do think he has the straighter punches.
Yep.
And I think Polo Reyes is going to go out there and swing for the fences and burn himself out. And then it's going to become a point fight. I see Hadzovic taking over if Polo Reyes punches himself out, going for the knockout swing because he hasn't been in there in a while. Ring rust is real. Hadzovic decision.
I got
That's my
Reyes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play up that much.
I'm all underdogs, I think, so far. I can't even take it. I have to keep futzing with my mic.
Ooh. Polo Reyes, 8,800. I'm not going to put tons of exposure there. I even said it as well. Hadzovic for 7-4. He's the play there. He's definitely the play there on DraftKings. There might be a lot of people saying that though, so maybe the crazy thing is stacking it if it goes to decision for both high octane type of fighters. And then we move on to some of the loveliest fights of the night. We have Port St. Lucy's own Jillian Roberts against returning Veronica Macedo. Macedo's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak. The 5-2 fighter is only lost in the UFC, and that was to the German fighters, 23 years old. Those 2 losses have come to Ashley Evans Smith 2 years ago and Andrea Lee decision 8 months ago. Jillian Roberts last lost to Reino Silva via submission armbar. Prior to that, the 5-3 fighter ended up beating a couple UFC, Emily Whitmire via submission, also defeating Molly the Can herself, McCannon. This is really, I don't know how I feel about either lady. I know that when I went back and watched those Macedo fights, Evan Smith isn't so bad, even though she just lost, and Andrea Lee definitely doesn't look that bad at all in a decision, but that's what she does to everyone. Macedo isn't the best striker on the ground. She isn't that good as well. She's she's a jack of all trades, master of none, and I mean, she's almost apprentice level on some levels of these trades. Jillian Roberts definitely is also learning a lot at 23 years old. Her game's evolving. She tends to be more the submission artist. I have actually liked the strike offense. I've seen a lot better from Roberts than Macedo. And on the ground, by far, I feel like Jillian Roberts has an advantage. If there's an advantage anywhere, I definitely see in the avenue for Jillian Roberts just being more of that. Even though she's a Canadian living in America, she is training at Top Team now. So I see that wrestling being the thing that takes over. Macedo's been training in Germany and doing well and stuff, but I think for women's MMA, if you're not in the United States, you're a step behind right now. in that facet of the sport. So I'm going to end up going submission round number 1.
Because we know Dagestan ain't training women.
Just saying.
Just saying.
That ain't our views, that's theirs.
No. You better get in the kitchen and get cooking. You better get to cooking, ladies.
They make flatbread because they should. I don't know if they
you know
do.
what the damn shame is? Look at the Polish women. Like the Dagestani women might be beasts. But we'll never know. We'll never know.
So, who do you have in this fight, and how did
I'm
you
going
get
to
it
pick
done?
Robertson. I'm picking it for a weird decision. I think this might be a little bit of a snooze fest. I could see the ref having to tell ladies, okay, ladies, I need you to stay active a few times during it. I think Robertson's going to have the better ground game, which I think it's eventually going to go to. I'm going with Jillian. I was on the fence about either. I'm going to stay far, far away from this because I don't see a lot of points either way. I'm picking the Robertson decision because Venezuela's been going through a lot of shit. They've been going through a lot of shit. It's been really busy over there in that country geopolitically. So I just think Robertson's gotten to probably focus more. I don't know where Homegirl trains out of. MMA Factory.
Right. MMA Factory. I'm wrong. I don't know why I saw Germany. I must have thrown something up in there. I need glasses. She's training out of Venezuela MMA Factory. Who else is there? Name sounds familiar, but I can't think of it. Regardless, what I've seen on tape from Macedo has not been the best. But I like what you're saying. That might be a stay away. If there's a play it all for me in there, it is Roberts. 8,600 on DraftKings. She is the minus 150 favorite against Macedo's 7,600 plus 135 underdog. Definitely probably more of a stay away. Then we move on to the 145 pounders where Daniel Tamur, the older, worst brother of the Tamurs, is coming in against Chris Fishgold.
I thought you were going to say the lesser Tamur.
Fishgold's coming in off of his first loss, or his second loss ever. It's the 17-2 fighter. His first loss in the UFC. He came in against Calvin Kattar 3 months ago. Ended up getting knocked out. Fishgold definitely at 26. Remember doing breakdown study for him. He leans his head forward, throws a lot of punches, has a ton of output, good wrestling, and actually good submissions. Even though he's an English fighter, they finally have come up, and Fishgold's one of these guys that actually has a good double leg takedown. I liked what I saw. It's just Kattar was, I believe Fishgold was also like 2 or 3 weeks short notice, so it was just too high of a step up. But in Daniel Tamur here, this is a guy who's definitely underperformed. The 6-2 fighter is lost his last 2 to Danny Henry, which that's fairly obvious in a decision. And last lost to Julio Arce, which both of those guys,
They ain't bad.
they ain't bad at all. So I guess I'm giving him a little bit of hate that he doesn't deserve. But he definitely is not. When you think of the Tamur brothers, you don't think of Daniel Tamur. You think of David Tamur for sure. And it's because Daniel is just, again, more of that jack of all trades, master of none, no real power, serviceable fight IQ as well. On the ground, he definitely can be exploited. It ended up showing as of late, and Fishgold has everything that he needs to get in there. I don't think that Tamur can even necessarily knock out Fishgold. I've seen him take a good amount of strikes from better strikers and him do just fine. I think this gets to the ground fairly quickly, and within rounds 2 or 3, I got Fishgold getting a submission. I don't think we need to stay long on this because I don't think Tamur stays in the UFC after this one. I think he's out of here on the third one. How do you feel this fight goes down and why?
Fishgold submission round 2. I definitely think Fishgold's going to win the fight. I don't know how I feel about my pick of submission in round 2 for a parlay. But I do think Fishgold might be a safe bet for your DraftKings.
At 9,000, you're definitely going to have to pay up for him. Daniel Tamur at 7,200.
3 months ago, knockout, stay away from this fight.
That's actually probably not the bad idea. It's right on that teeter level for us. We usually like to give people a little bit more time, but it wasn't an out cold. It was more of a TKO by punches. Fishgold just wasn't able to get the takedown on a D1 level wrestler, which Tamur is not by any means whatsoever. I'm trying to look at the exact betting line. I feel like Fishgold has probably ended up being bet up by this point. It's going to be minus 250 for the favorite.
Oh, yeah.
2-1 favorite over the plus 210.
That's right. I hate to say it, but that's right.
I agree. So I see a finish there. I'm going to end up trying to mix up Fishgold a little bit.
Me too. I
there.
see Fishgold submission round 2. Ah, that's scary.
Then
Just
we
because of his
move on.
chin.
Definitely. Then we move on.
But the guy that he knocked out
Way better
had like
punches.
the same record I have right now.
So we go to the 170 pounders where Caro Petrozzoli comes in against Dwight Grant. The 8-2 Dwight Grant has got his first loss in the UFC to Zach Otto 2 months ago. Prior to that, he beat the Contender Series Hill in TKO. Dwight Grant is a AKA fighter. He does fight out of New York, but has been at that California scene for a little while. Definitely likes to keep it up and striking. Has a good clinch. Is black explosive for all of the right reasons. And with that black explosive,
For all the right reasons.
with that, the gas tank does tend to fail him a little bit. Ended up showing up in his fight against Zach Otto, who actually, a lot of people have been fading his chin a lot, but Otto was able to really just push him up against the fence, drag him to the ground, and not let any of Grant's offense get going, and that's how you beat him. Petrozzoli, though, being a global fighter out of the United States, Rome, Italy, the 25-year-old came in and lost a fight on short notice in Brazil to Alex Oliveira 4 months ago, and this was one of those, you went night-night. The Fishgold fight, TKO. It was standing, he went down, okay, but he didn't go out. Petrozzoli stiffened up and woke up, didn't know where he was. So, out of both of those knockouts, I would say Petrozzoli's. It was a left hand on like a weird shove. We didn't really see anything in that fight. It was super, super, super quick. But what I remember seeing
Both of what knockouts?
The Fishgold knockout compared to the Petrozzoli knockout.
Okay.
Where if we're worried about Fishgold 3 months, Petrozzoli's 4 months, but Petrozzoli was
A nasty
out.
knockout.
Out. So he's the type of guy where I'm like, dude, 6 months. Like, dude, take 6 months. Like, you were, woo.
Weird fact. Did you know gorillas have like a 3-centimeter penis or something? Like a really small penis?
I did not.
I read that somewhere today. Don't know if it's right, but it made me laugh because I thought, well, that's not a penis. That's a clitoris.
It's not about how you use it. It's motion in the ocean, as I've been told.
That's
motion
true.
in the ocean.
That is true.
But I'm going to end up picking Dwight Grant in here. I don't trust the caliber of the 11-2 fighter. He did get other wins on the Cage Warrior scene. His best win is to Nicholas Dalby, so he has had credible competition in there. Dwight Grant is not an Oliveira by any means whatsoever, but Petrozzoli's takedowns, he does like to use them, but they aren't the best. He tends to muscle them a lot more, and I feel like Grant can defend those. Zach Otto actually has better takedowns by far than Petrozzoli. I had Petrozzoli earlier. I'm switching to Grant decision. This one I can actually see being a low scorer. I don't think either guy really pulls away, and there's actually a pretty on-caliber fight. I think they could be a dirty split. I'm going with Grant. I'm saying stay away. Who do you have in this fight?
I have a Grant decision as well, and I've gone back and forth a little bit on this fight just because I'm unsure of what I've seen from either, so I always like to take what I've seen as the best, and going to decision with Zach Otto ain't bad to me. So even though he did lose the decision, I'm going to pick Dwight Grant, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision. I think he's really going to hurt Petrozzoli in round 1 and 2, maybe even look like it's going to be close to a finish, but I think Petrozzoli's going to eke it out, and then round 3 is going to be so boring. Is just the way I'm predicting it. Grant decision.
I totally agree. And actually, Petrozzoli, it wasn't his debut against Oliveira. He does have a fight against Brad Scott in there, but Brad Scott popped for steroids on that, and Petrozzoli won a split decision against Brad Scott. Split decision, Brad Scott. Just saying. If you need another red flag, split decision, Dalby and Brad Scott, that's pretty much bottom of the barrel UFC caliber fighter right there. You're going to end up paying $8,200 for Petrozzoli against Dwight Grant's $8,000. Actually, I'm going to end up putting Grant. I thought the odds were going to be a bit more skewed on DraftKings. I'm going to end up putting Grant on, I'm going to say like 60-70% of my cards.
Whoa.
Not all of them by any means, but I don't like Petrozzoli in this spot.
No, I'm not going to put Petrozzoli anywhere.
the actual
I'm
betting
gonna pepper
odds.
Grant or salt him, so it's hashtag no racist.
Dwight Grant plus 125, another underdog for Lesbo. Petzoli plus.
The only one I have that's a favorite is
145.
Prazeres so far.
Wow, what a night. And here I'm starting off the night saying there's not that many betting underdogs on this night. There's not going to be money to be made. I've picked a few underdogs already as well, so maybe there is money to be made. Maybe I need to keep on breaking down the card to see where it takes us, because there's other fun ones on the way. This one is one of those, with Magomed Ankalaev versus Khalilsan Farias at 205 pounds. The debuting 14-2 Farias is coming off of his N1 submission armbar 3 months ago. Prior to that, he has
All submissions.
all submissions as well. I believe he also might have one knockout in there earlier on his career, but essentially he likes to get it done on the ground. His entries on his takedowns aren't that bad, but they are against, again, not the best wrestlers in the world. And striking wise, he puts together a good 2 and 3 punch combination together. Head movement is all right. Nothing really sticks out to me for Farias. This is a fairly stiff competition that he has coming in, and I feel like he's just taking this fight because the UFC called and he's like, yeah, of course I'm going to fight. Doesn't matter who they would have put him up against. He was going to take that fight, but the 26-year-old fighter is just green in a green division over in the UK against Ankalaev, who ended up as 10-1, was a perfect fighter until Paul Craig finished him in the last second of the fight via triangle. Ankalaev, M1 fighter as well, ended up last coming in and
That
TKOing
says too that he
Prichinho.
couldn't finish Paul Craig.
Very, very true against another submission guy in here.
And Paul Craig's not a 205er, isn't he? A 185er, or is he?
No,
205?
he's 205. He's tall. Paul Craig's really gangly in there. But Ankalaev really took over that fight and stayed in the guard of Paul Craig the entire fight up until that last second when he was submitted. So, I don't know. Submissioner's chance. Paul Craig hasn't looked any sorts of good after that for a reason. And Ankalaev has actually come back and beat Marcin Prachniow in a TKO 5 months ago. Ankalaev said he realized that, hey, sticking in people's guards and stuff isn't the best idea. And he's now had 2 fights in the UFC where Farias has had none, and he's a submission guy. So I feel like Ankalaev, more than anything, is going to remember that Paul Craig fight and say, oh, dude, I'm way better striking. I'm going to stay out here and just finish you like I did the other guy. And I'm going to end up picking Ankalaev for a TKO round number 2 or 3. I think body shots add up here. I think Ankalaev can keep it where he wants to, use that Russian wrestling. Give me the favorite here. Who do you have in this fight?
I have Ankalaev as well. I don't know if it's that I just don't feel good about this fight night. I don't think I'm going to be putting a lot of money on it.
I agree with that.
Ankalaev, he's got to be faster, right? Because Farias is coming down from heavyweight, so you got to think the 205ers got to have the speed advantage here. I am a little nervous because Farias, everybody's gone against has real records, and he's the number 1 heavyweight in all of Brazil. That is frightening to me. Brazil ain't just a walkthrough. It'd be like being the number 1 heavyweight in America or something. So I am nervous for Ankalaev only because his only loss is by submission, and you're going against a submission artist who's we don't know if he was just at heavyweight for whatever reason because his camp wouldn't let him, and now he's able to drop down that he's in the UFC at 205 and he's going to murk it. So I think the odds are going to be off here. I'm guessing that Ankalaev is going to be a super heavy favorite, like 3-1, 4-1, and that is crazy to me. I think Ankalaev is an underperformer, in my opinion.
He's underperformed, definitely. And you are right. And Farias, who I've been calling Farias because that's what it is on DraftKings, or on DraftKings he goes by Abreu as well. And he's one of these Brazilian fighters who's Kalindid Farias de Abreu. Motherfuckers. Come on, man. So, the big underdog is Abreu, Farias, plus
I'm going with Farias submission.
Whoa.
I'm changing it.
Whoa.
He's gone against big guys, so I'm sure he can handle some hands. The Ankalaev underperforming. I like the country that he's coming from. We've been saying like, oh, Brazil, watch for the juice.
True. Very good point. They are in Prague.
I'm gonna go for another underdog. This is gonna be the craziest
huge,
night of all.
This is a huge underdog.
Huge. 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 This is the Donald Trump huge underdog.
This ain't no
play of the
gorilla
day.
penis. This ain't no gorilla penis. That's for
This
damn
that
sure.
donkey day. This that donkey day.
Plus 185. Abreu against the minus 225. Ankalaev 9,100 on DraftKings for Ankalaev against
Plus
Abreu's
225 for Ankalaev.
minus 225. Plus 185 for
That's
Abreu.
not as good as it should be. It should be bigger odds than that.
Interesting.
I think he should be like...
It is a dogger pass betting wise. I totally agree with you. It's a dogger pass. I'm going to be picking the favorite here. Decision though right
Watch.
now.
Odds are going to change so much. All the MMA fans are going to go heavy in the paint for Ankalaev. Watch. I think the odds are going to change. Don't bet on it yet. It's going to get bigger.
Oh,
That's
that's
what
a
I
little
think.
pro bet tip right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I think.
Hold off on that one until it gets steamed up a little bit more. So, yeah.
I'm going to put
gonna
both
be
guys
hesitant.
on different cards.
I'm going to put, I agree with that, and I agree with that. At 7,000, I'm going to need a couple of these guys to open up my cards a little bit. Abreu could be
This,
the
so
shot.
far, though, as crazy as my betting go, and we're about to walk into it, or did we just walk into it? Oh, yeah, we did.
We're
We're in the main card right now.
what actually Ankalaev versus Farias Abreu is the main event on ESPN. I don't know if it's on ESPN Plus or ESPN. Look at your local listings. It could be Sky Sports. You're welcome.
Could be BT Sports 2. It could be, yeah, you'll find it.
You'll end up getting it.
So make sure you're following Zol tonight and at Weeknet Baby and at Lesbo and the Bean. And make sure you check out our Instagram if you haven't already. It's a good reason to check out Instagram if you're not an Instagrammer. At Lesbo and the Bean on Instagram. And I just want to say thank you. We're blowing up and you guys are a part of that. And we hope you like your little special deal. If you're somebody who fast forward through the beginning of the show, maybe you should check back to the beginning because there might be a little bonus code on there if you want to look at latherandcompany.com.
Great point. Always stick around. Free bets are coming. I assure
Yes.
you that. And they're always plus money here at Lappy. Also, just like to throw a little shout out to at Jilted American.
Americana. Jilted Americana.
Oh, thank you very much for the love. Appreciate that.
And that's a
It's
good
fun-
name.
It is. It's a fun one.
I feel like I'm Jilted Americana.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
I am. True.
And one that's going to leave us a little jilted, I feel like, is at 135 pounds, where we have John Dodson coming against Petr Yan. Yan had a fun Twitter post asking fans what fight song he should come out to. No Mercy is 11-1, having a huge winning streak, coming in and dominating his last win a month ago to Douglas.
What songs is he trying to ask?
I voted for No Mercy by 50 Cent. Or Many Men by 50 Cent. And that's because it has No Mercy on Me, No Mercy on My Friends, or something like that.
What were the other
And that's
options?
his nicknames. I couldn't even tell you because that's all I voted for. I don't know what would you have picked for him? Nickname No Mercy. Petr Yan.
Oh, mercy, mercy me. Things ain't what they used to be. No, no.
I don't know that song.
I think it's like Marvin Gaye or something. I think it's called Mercy, Mercy Me, or is it... Din, din, din. That's all I know of the song now that I stopped it.
So Petr Yan is definitely going to be the younger fighter at 26 years old, coming out of that Tiger Muay Thai scene with Taisumov, all those Huerta to Muay Thai quick swick guys, against the perennial gatekeeper at 20-10.
It is
John
Mercy,
Dodson.
Mercy Me by Marvin Gaye.
Oh, that's the title? Good to know. So that's Lesbo's vote.
I think you should put on
50
some Marvin
cents.
Gaye. That's some good, like, doing chores music right there.
That is some good
or
doing
making
chores.
love music.
By far better for that. By far better for that. So, John Dodson is one of those guys that comes in with a Christmas tree record, been a perennial top contender at 135 pounds. He wins one, loses once, win one, loses one, and is on a win one as of late, losing to Jimmy Rivera decision 5 months ago. Prior to that, he beat Pedro Munoz in a split decision, beat Windland, but lost to Marias in a split, and who else did he lose to in there as of late? John Lineker in a split decision. John Dodson, split decisions, everybody. John Dodson, that's what he does, and it's because he employs the Jackson Wink method, which is turn and run. Put your head between your legs and run. John.
Get the mental image of that.
It doesn't work at all.
It'd be so weird.
I just think the little Ninja Turtle can figure it out. But John Dodson, notoriously...
Pull your head into your shell and run.
The little Ninja Turtle comes in and definitely has a high output type of a game, but relies on that overhand right. You know that he spams it. You know it's the only thing he throws in there. Takedowns and shots, not anymore. He'll do a outside ankle pick, which is really set up and telegraphed, so I don't really think it's worked on many people. He'll sneak it in there every once in a while. I believe he did it to Munoz as well. Doesn't have good takedown defense. But against Yan, this guy's shown great takedown defense, amazing cardio, good striking, and he really overwhelms his opponent with high output, being able to get them to the ground and land a ton of ground and pound to eventually get him out of there. Where I feel like this is actually going to turn into a mega snooze fest is John Dodson has amazing takedown defense. John Dodson has notoriously made everyone go to a split decision because he backs up, waits for that and he doesn't mind getting booed. We know what we get with John Dodson. That's his fighting style. Did I say it about...
They should call it the Winkleboo because every single person from the camp, they don't care. Unless you're John Jones, they don't care. Boo me. Boo me.
It's
Holly
all about the
Holm
W.
me.
It's all about the W, and they know that. So the fact that Yan needs to really have somebody stand there and be willing to get in a fight with him, which Douglas D'Andrade was willing to do and started to get picked apart, John Dodson doesn't do that. John Dodson throws a strike and runs away. Throws a strike and runs away. So that'll leave a lot of chasing unless Petr Yan cuts off the cage. But I haven't really seen that because his opponents play into him a bit more. I really feel like this is a stay away. I got Petr Yan. He's a heavy favorite. But even though he wins, I think this could be a dirty split decision. If not, heavy decision. I have Yan everywhere. But I think the odds are off just because, especially on DraftKings, you can't pay up for Petr Yan in this spot. I have him winning the fight, though. Who do you have and why?
I haven't liked anything about what I've seen from John Dodson of late. He just seems like he's losing a tick every single time we see him inside the octagon. That being said, his caliber is so far away. I could have kept that so going until you guys would have to listen to the next episode and it would have picked up with,
True.
So different than where Petr Yan's been. I think the odds are, I don't even know what they are. I just see what the favorite is on Tapology and how everybody is so behind Petr Yan.
Yep.
I've watched everybody online. They're high on Petr Yan. And in my opinion, you're being disrespectful to John M.F. Dodson. He's paid his dues. He's been in there with everyone. He's taken short notice fights. He's fought at 125. He's fought at 135. He's fought everyone. Monsters. He's like the last person who didn't get finished by Marlon Moraes. He's like the only person.
Has a win over TJ Dillashaw. Knockout.
Everyone. He didn't look bad against friggin' Mighty Mouse. I think he went to decision with Mighty Mouse
Twice.
as well. This
Not
is
bad, Mighty
crazy
Mouse.
here.
I'm the only person
In
almost
my
knocked him out.
opinion, Dodson's going to test Petr Yan's cardio in ways that Petr Yan's cardio has never been tested. Everyone that Petr Yan's gone against is a guy that wants to stand and bang. Like Ishihara wants to stand in front of him and just throw. The lines are way off.
Yep.
I think John Dodson is going to make Petr Yan swing at air, and then he has good takedown defense. He's going to wear out his muscles. I think Petr Yan, after this fight, is going to be so much better because I think working on his cardio is going to be the key to taking this kid to the next level. But this fight right now, to me, is all the reminiscent of who was the same kid from TJ's camp that everyone was really high on a few weeks ago.
Sam Hagen?
No, going into Bellator, and it was this like fight in Bellator. Everyone's like, he's Pico.
Aaron Pico.
This is what this reminds me of a little bit. Petr Yan coming in, he has all this hype. Everyone, you're forgetting about John M.F. Dodson, who's going to turn this fight boring by the end of it, and everyone is going to start booing John Dodson because he doesn't just stand there and bang with Petr Yan. I think John Dodson is going to secure the takedowns closer to the end of the fight. I think he's going to eke out the dirty split. Everyone's going to be like, what the fuck? And then they're going to be like, whoa, it was John Dodson.
They are in the Czech Republic for the Russian fighter. Do you think that plays at all? Just saying.
Well, the Czech Republic isn't Russia. It's Europe.
It's Europe.
That's a whole. I thought you were just kidding. That's what. So yeah, I do actually though think because over hometown advantage, in my opinion, when it goes to decision, I feel like Michael, they have a little bug in their ear, and the UFC picks who's better for numbers, and which sense. We think it's Petr Yan. He's younger. John Dotson's at the end of his game. I'm gonna say it. I can't believe it. John Dotson's gonna eke out the decision.
Wow, dirty split. Hey, I'm saying this could be a dirty split too. I don't think you're speaking not the truth at all whatsoever.
I can't have this many underdogs on a card. That's why I can't gamble. If I did gamble, it would be the night that, this could have been where you retired a millionaire.
Are you going to grace us with another one of the Lesbo parlays? I really like that.
I don't know. We'll see. They're going to have to be something hashtag STOOPID, hashtag so stupid. But
if they come through, you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. They'll be like, this is plus $87.
Yeah, just for putting the bet up, you were going to win. So I totally agree with that. As I'm saying,
mine will be all for people that want to gamble under $5. Mine will be dollar stocks. They're going to be all for people that want to gamble under $5 and maybe win 100.
Those are good odds. Yeah. Just throwing out.
That's how you know they're going to be stupid. I may only hit like 3 times a year, but when I do.
Woo! I like the way you think. 9,300 for Petr Yan against 6,000.
Sticking with what I know, John Dodson, and favorite camp right now, Jackson Wink.
Yeah. Everything's lining up for Lesbo.
I can't believe I'm going with John Dodson. It might be the first time in history.
I will say as well, on DraftKings, you got to play John Dodson for 6'9". In a decision fight, I don't see him getting finished in here.
I don't either.
If Munoz and all of those other monsters can't finish you, Petr Yan is not going to be able to finish you in there. Maybe I'm eating my words by the end of the night, but we'll see. I feel like we're pretty good at agreeing on things. And this one, even though we have different fighters, we agree.
Mm-hmm. True.
Moving on to the 125-pounders, we have Liz, the Marine Carmouche, versus Lucy Pudilova. The gorilla herself is 12-6, the longest tenured female fighter in the UFC, because the only other woman that's fought longer than her in the UFC was Honda Housey.
Oh, wow.
You saw that. That's the first fight I ever showed you.
I didn't know Ronda was the only that Carmouche has been in the longest.
Yeah, because she debuted with Ronda. They were the first fight ever.
Oh, okay.
You watched that fight.
I remember it, but I just didn't even think because I was like, Sarah McMahon. And I was going through all this old guard that's still fighting, and then I'm like, but she was the first.
She was
Ronda.
the first lady fight of all time. No credit. First gay fighter in the UFC as well. No cred. Marine. No cred. Liz Carmouche needs to change her name to No Cred Carmouche. Against Lucy Pudilova, the 8-3 fighter. She's coming off of a loss. The Czech Republic fighter is 24 years old. There might be a little home cooking in here. She last lost to Irene Aldana in a fight of the night contender 5 months ago. Those ladies definitely kept it striking, choosing to throw a strike to eat a strike, each one of them. She beat Sarah Moras in a decision, beat Kim in a decision, lost to Lena Lensberg in a decision, and ended up also those are her only 4 UFC bouts. She's 2-2. The Gorilla Carmouche is coming off of a win. The 12-6 fighter just beat Mina. She's lost to Alexis Davis and Miesha Tate, and her only other loss is to Ronda Rousey. She has a win over Jessica Andrade. Liz Carmouche has a great double leg takedown, throws good strikes, has a good jab. She definitely needs to get this fight to the ground because Pudilova, even though she doesn't have heavy strikes, she will wear you out with that. She kills you by 1,000 cuts, but Pudilova's gas tank is a little suspect. Where the humongous advantage here for the Gorilla is on the ground, that good double leg takedown and single that she has, mainly that double. As soon as she gets to the ground, she moves to side control. Carmouche has a sick arm triangle that she'll throw in there, and once she gets to the back, she's strong. You can really see the Gorilla in there manhandle her victims. I want to make a really gross gorilla analogy that you made earlier because it fits.
That she has a 3-centimeter clip. I'll say it.
Thank you very much.
I couldn't wait. I've been waiting the whole time.
I gotta wait. So I think she's gonna rub up against her.
Was dumb to be.
Oh dang it! I should have let it go. I should have let it go.
No, I would never remember.
I got the Gorilla submission round number 1. I'm gonna be playing her everywhere.
I feel like the gorilla reference swayed me to Liz Carmouche.
just the
reference. I had Pudlova for yet another underdog. I just think she's coming in. Her last fight was at 135, so it's not like a clear representation of what she was doing. And I don't even remember if she took the fight on short notice. Well, I guess she didn't take it on short notice. But she's fighting down at 125 for the first time, and that is really curious to me. I know Liz Carmouche is settling in at 125, and maybe it's even more of her natural weight class. Everything tells me that Liz Carmouche should win this fight. There's something about the new guard and when it changes over, but we are seeing women go to longer careers. But these women like Carmouche and Sarah McMahon, and it's like their tricks now are what these other girls grew up on. So it's like what used to look so awesome when they went in and did it now is just 101. And that makes me nervous. I'm going to stick with Carmouche because I'm going to stick with what I know, but I say stay away from this fight. I'm not going to put either fighter too many places.
Plus,
I think Pudlova, I think it's going to go to a dirty split, and that is the thing. If it goes to a split or even decision, she's going to lose it. Yeah, that's where I feel like Carmouche, that's the thing that swayed me over to Pudlova. I don't see Carmouche finishing this fight. So if it goes to decision, I almost feel like that's almost a 10-8 round if the girl is from the Czech Republic. So, ooh.
That's a close one.
What are the odds on it?
Minus 140 for the favorite Liz Carmouche against the plus 120 underdog for the local Pudlova. I don't like the takedown defense for Pudlova. 8,300 on DraftKings for Carmouche against 7,900 for Pudlova. If I'm playing this fight at all, it is Carmouche, and I have that submission round 1. I could even see round 2, but
wow, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I have Carmouche decision. This fight.
I think I'm going to be playing Carmouche.
This fight, all over that gorilla clit. So gross.
You might get a new fan in this Carmouche. Be careful, Lesbo.
Oh, yeah.
You might get a new fan out there.
I was married.
Moving on to the 205-pounders, we have Gian
that was the nastiest
noise. Against...
It's like when Sarah Silverman says the way to make the word pussy sound gross because it's now old hat. Like it used to be so in the 80s if you said pussy, but she says pussy. Like you add like a heavy fat tongue in it and then blow your cheeks out. So instead of why don't you look at my pussy? It's like a way to make pussy sound gross again. I don't even want to feel it. Yeah,
I like the myself
so
a whole lot more.
But that noise kind of sounded like Sarah Silverman. So look at that. It's a funny stand-up.
It is. It's a good one.
If you can take the politics out of Sarah Silverman, love her. I don't even want to talk about that. Sorry, everyone. Back to the fights.
At 205 pounds, we have Gian Villante versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk is 12-2 in his record, winning his only fight in the UFC against Khalil Roundtree over a year ago. Ended up having to take a little break because he popped for the steroids. He ended up having to go to America, and he decided to keep this one in Czech for a reason, in Prague for a reason. Maybe the juice might be flowing a little bit. Just saying out there. Call me crazy. Gian Villante, he's coming out of that Baltimore kickboxing scene. I know he's a Weidman fanatic out of Serra-Longo. He's a football player with wrestling credentials, which doesn't make any sense, but everybody says Gian Villante has good wrestling because he trains with Weidman. But the reason he trains with Weidman is because they don't have other big guys in there that were able to train with him. So, by process of elimination, Villante was the guy that they ended up beating up on. All Joe character, you always see him in with All Joe. They have a really good click. I love Villante's character and everything outside of the ring. He's the meathead who gets picked on by an entire crew. Everybody's like, yeah, why don't you go punch Villante in the head? And I'm like, every time I hear it, I'm like, why? Why? He gets hit so much in the head every single fight. You guys don't need to pick on him. Every one of the fights Villante's ever been in has been a close fight, and he always loses at the wrong times. I mean, I thought he would have been cut a long time ago. The 17-10 fighter has lost to Cummings. He does have a win over Barroso, the gross Barroso himself. Losses to Sam Alvey, but coming off of a win to Ed Herman in a split decision. And he beat the Gross Barros in a split. John Villante's barely holding on in here at 205. And
he lost to, did he lose to Sam Alvey?
yeah.
Sam Alvey throws 13 punches every 3 fights.
He lost to Tom Lawler in a fight he was winning because John Villante's chin just cannot take the punches anymore. And the Polish 24-year-old is mainly a striker, okay takedown defense, but doesn't have to worry about it because I don't know if Villante's ever shot a takedown in the UFC. I could be wrong. It could be, if I'm wrong, it's by 1 or 2. And I'm saying he shot 0. That ain't no joke. So this is going to be a striking battle. And in that, even if Villante has more tricks, his chin just can't hold up. This is just a total fade for me. The guy who's had better competition, fought better fighters, all the checks are Villante. But for that reason, and I haven't liked him for so long, I'm going to end up going with Oleksiejczuk TKO round number 2 or 3. And this is not that I'm up on Oleksiejczuk because he tends to be a grinder wrestler and he's not going to be able to get Villante on the ground, but it's that chin. I'm fading that chin. I'm going to go decision. I'm going to go decision, Oleksiejczuk. Split, probably, because it's freaking Villante. But
I
stay
agree
away.
with you, too.
Stay away.
And it's so nerve-wracking because I want to say it's a finish. Like he's going to catch him.
Right.
But the last few fights, Villante's been playing a little bit smarter. But then he's also going against like Sam Alvey, who it may have been his first or second fight up from 185. This is a weird one for me. And maybe Oleksiejczuk I will think, this is a hype train. But I'm just nervous. I think I'm hype train nervous. I think what's happened in the UFC is, and I don't know if it's ever happened before, but with Ngannou, and people can say, oh, that's knockout artist, but what about T-City? Oh, that's a submission artist. Or what about, it's like, you can go through, and then we're lucky we still got the style bender. Like, we still have people that are holding strong, but then you're like, well, style bender just fought Anderson Silva, not to disrespect Anderson Silva, but it's an older gentleman.
Sure, definitely.
Like, I don't know. It's such a crazy thing. Which Gastelum Stylebender?
I was about to say, you got to lay breaking Lat B. You're living under a rock if you didn't hear. We have another interim belt, so 165 is around the corner. 165 pounds is right around the corner. Everything is lining up for that to be opening within this calendar year.
Because of the interims?
Because everything Dana White says is false. He's like, we're getting rid of the interim belts. And then they make an interim belt fight.
And
like, we're getting 165.
It's all so confusing. It's really, I don't care about belts at all anymore. This is my new thing. I don't care about belts at all. The belts are for the newcomers, so they can understand where we're at.
Wow. Like,
they're for the, fans that are new to the game, so they can understand the guys that are the big dogs in the sport. Yeah, it's just for them. It's almost like, have you ever played that video game, The Sims?
Yes.
It's like that green thing above their head.
Right.
It's that, so people, when they can watch the box, they're like, oh, that's the guy that's the best. So we can look down. They don't remember the guy after they get past that guy.
Totally.
The common fan that's new to the sport. And all the hardcores don't give a shit about the belts because we're still waiting for Tony Ferguson to get that fight.
Exactly.
And in reality, as much as I don't want to see it, Tony Max might be the highest caliber UFC fight of all time. Like, it's such an amazing battle of styles that to even think about that fight mixed with Cowboy Conor, mixed with Dustin Poirier Iaquinta, that yep. Okay. Anyways, Oleksiejczuk's decision. I'm not going to go with this either. I actually think it's I think he could finish it. I just don't respect my opinion of him enough because I'm so scared of jumping on a hype train.
I totally agree. As I'm saying, Oleksiejczuk, coming off of that steroid suspension, gonna be fighting in another country, 24 years old. He is 8,900 on DraftKings against Villante 7,300. But this is a stay away. This is absolutely a stay away for me. There's other spots on the night to make your money. I like what you're saying there. We finally made it to the co-main event where we have the biggest boys of the night come in At 265 pounds, we have Stefan Struve coming in against Marco Rego de Lima.
The only thing I have to say about Oleksiejczuk
Okay, move it. Get it there.
is I do have, for the hardcore Lesbo and the Bean fans, I love a Polish fighter. That is the sneaky thing with me where
you
I
love the good Pole.
usually lean with the Polish fighter. And maybe he's going to get Gian Villante back on that knockout train. You know, once they, then it's like every fight, and then we're like, maybe you should lay those gloves down. Maybe that's
been saying that for years, though, with him. That's what I'm saying, for years.
I just wanted to add that to the, like, if I had to put one thing on the little scales of Oleksiejczuk.
Minus 200 for Oleksiejczuk as well, a plus 170 for Villante. Stay away fight.
I agree.
Stay away fight. Again, the heavyweight Stefan Struve versus Rodrigo de Lima. De Lima had a bit of a resurgence. He moved down to 205, thought he was going to be amazing there, but it's one of those Ledette situations, as I've called it before, 100%. De Lima is a heavyweight because it's a lacking heavyweight division. He's fighting bigger, slower guys where speed kills, and he has that power from 205 and doesn't have to cut. Where at 205, De Lima isn't UFC caliber. At heavyweight, he's a contender. Unbelievable how that changes. And Stefan Struve at 26-11 is coming off of a 3-fight losing streak. The skyscraper has been there forever. 31 years old. He's been fighting since he was 21. 10 years battle worn. Broke his jaw. Was kicked off of the roster because he has a heart condition, because he has gigantism. And people are like, dude, you shouldn't be walking around because you could die of a heart attack. Like, he is an anomaly. Big man, one of the biggest people you ever see. At 7 foot, skyscraper throws a mean teep to the body, which used to be one of his best attributes. He'd throw it to the body, hurt guys to the body, and then end up going for that guillotine. Submissions has been Stefan Struve's ace, but he's gotten away.
Do you think artists...
Go ahead.
This is, I guess I can say it. I'm white. This is white racism. Do you think Stefan Struve is a product of Nazi, like, gene projects
from the Netherlands?
But that whole area back
Norway.
Then, and people could have
They're
fleed.
Vikings, though.
People
They're a big people.
But he is something specific and something a little different than a
Nordic.
Viking. Yeah, like his body doesn't. Vikings are.
Is he a Nephilim? Is that what you're trying to tell me? A Nephilim?
Or what they were trying to do, and then it was like. Like
you tell
things
me
got
he
a little,
broke out of the test tube and started running down the
or
street?
Things got a little, I'm not saying he's inbred.
No,
I'm just
right.
saying when they're trying to go for the best genes ever and whatever weird studies and even bloodline weird stuff, if you look into those kind of conspiracies, and we also know genetically you start mixing the bloodline too much and it doesn't turn out right. Do you think he would be a product of that kind of... I don't know. Just taking it there. Why not? Go on.
I do believe he's half Nephilim, and I do think that he could be partying with Sasquatch.
You say Nephilim. It's a nice little, put a little chocolate around it.
To figure that one out. So look into it. But De Lima's
once you bring up
given
Nazis in the podcast, all things
all hell
are
breaks
off.
loose.
All things are off. Did you call me a Nazi experiment? Stefan Struve gets mad at
telling
me.
you, he ran out of the test tube. He crawled out the top and they're like, it got too big, too fast. That's Stefan Struve. But
his grandfather though was like 2 feet taller than him.
Yeah, all his whole family. He ain't I don't know if he's the biggest one in his family, but I feel like he's not. So Stefan Struve's coming off of a 3-fight losing streak. Last losing a decision to Marcin Tybura 6 months ago. Every single fight we've ever seen Stefan Struve in is a battle. He does actually have a win over the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time, knocking out Stipe Miocic. The only other knockout loss for Stipe by Stefan Struve. That was an anomaly. Actually, I believe it's the only knockout Stefan Struve has. I believe all the other ones have been submissions. Could be off there. But what Stefan Struve does, again, teep kick, elbows doesn't really show him. His gas tank is garbage, and it's because he's 7 foot and he just can't sustain it. That's how Marcin Tybura, who's like a 6'4" guy, was able, even though he's pudgy and fat, a lot like De Lima's going to come in there looking. He was able to beat him with cardio, and De Lima does not have that option. De Lima does not have cardio either, even at 205. He's a Muay Thai striker who is 33 years old, throws a heavy overhand right, sets up an amazing leg kick, but really after the first round, De Lima shot. Stefan Struve is a punching bag though, and even if he absorbs it, both of these guys, if it goes in a second or third round, there's going to be a sloppy fight, but I don't think it's going to get there. Stefan Struve has a lot of that Mike Vick type of head movement that you just finally noticed. You're going to see Stefan Struve do the same thing, and that's where he will lean back because he's so tall. What that does is it circumvents your foot movement, which allows that leg kick. If not, if De Lima really times it right, he just steps in super deep and that right lands. Stefan Struve has broken his chin flat in half because of that. Mark Hunt, I believe, did it. I've been looking to fade Stefan Struve for a long time. It's a 3-5 losing streak. He's just more of name value. He's a main event. This is how you guarantee a finish, by putting these guys in there. I think you have to put this fight everywhere on DraftKings, decided regardless of where you go. I'm going De Lima TKO round number 1. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I really was waiting for your breakdown of it. I know what I think of Stefan Struve, but I like the way De Lima looks better at heavyweight than I did when he was fighting down. He just looks faster, and because he is faster, I think he can get in on the inside of Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve looks good the first round out, and then he just gets
exhausted.
Shitty.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he should be fighting anymore. Doesn't he have to cut weight?
Yeah. Stefan Struve's a monster.
That is crazy. He doesn't use his tools. He doesn't use his tools correctly, and I do think he can be picked apart by De Lima. I also have De Lima getting in the inside. I coming straight up the middle. I really just see him.
I see an overhand right, but I agree with in the middle. Struve's just open as well. He relies on his chin, and it's not held up. He's broken to his jaw. Look that up. It's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
De Lima's going in there for a win. Oh, and it's crazy because Stefan Struve's the younger guy in here. I just like that De Lima's moved up in weight.
I totally agree with that.
And we've seen everybody that's moved up in weight of lately, including, we'll be talking about another fighter coming up later on in the card. We've just seen really good things about it.
The main event, some might call it.
Some might call it the ME.
So, how are you, how is this going to end?
This is weird for me. I do see it being a finish, so I understand what you're saying. Put one of the guys somewhere. It's just I'm just scared of this whole fight night because I feel like I have too many underdogs. How often does that turn out good?
Well, you're going to find out.
Yeah. De Lima KO round 2. Ooh, I see Struve getting the first round, but I see De Lima just staying far enough, picking apart the legs, taking the shots that are the cut you by 1,000, right. Trying to play smart, and then coming in the inside, and Stefan Struve is turned off. Or the end of round 1.
Yep.
I can see
and
that.
Stefan Struve throws that inside kick to the chin that'll knock anybody out. And he's tall enough where it should be a body kick for everyone else. But 8,400 for De Lima against 7,800 for Stefan Struve. I actually need to tell myself to back off of this because I feel like I'm going to put it everywhere.
It's going to squash your cards.
And if it doesn't land,
exactly.
It's the one where it's like, as long as this doesn't happen, and then it does happen, and Struve ends up walking out there. So I'm going to probably put it like 80% De Lima, and I don't know if I put Struve anywhere. I don't like anything I've seen lately from him. What are you going to do on DraftKings for that one?
I'm going to put the whole card, maybe one guy on 2 cards apiece. Both guys.
Okay.
And then just leave it. I'm just too nervous about playing this night. I might play this one more parlays with just adding weird underdogs together.
We got other nights to come. We got weeks and weeks and weeks of fights.
And make sure you're following us because we do always on our Instagram and on our Twitter, we release the card with our last minute circles so you can
post weigh-ins.
Yeah, post weigh-ins so you can still get plenty of time to get your bets in. Like the second the cards come out for the UFC where they're like, these are all the people that you'll see tomorrow night. We take that and we make it beautiful and we put it out. So. And
just a little pro tip here on the Beans card. If you end up seeing a lot of stars and some of them might have a little bit of like squiggles or something, it means I'm trying to profile that fight if you haven't picked up on that. Because that's been a running theme, I feel like. Like people that I feel like
you're like right here. And hey, everyone on Instagram, there is a new feature that when you look at a picture when things are put up together, you have to swipe right.
Oh,
and then there's the other picture. You got to learn to swipe right. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure. Like, hey, Grandpa, Swipe right.
Hey, 90-year-old listeners,
Yeah.
you're messing up our schematics. Get in there.
Yeah, we got older. We got some
We have
older
12 years
audience.
old and we have 90-year-olds.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know us.
If you're 12, you should ask your parents if you should be listening to this.
This is the truth. This is the truth. So, to the main event we go in a profile fight. I mean, this is
I
what
have to
main
say,
events are
don't
meant
even
to
ask
be.
your parents. Turn it off. Come back maybe when you're 14 or 15. I don't want to be the one telling you about
No, I didn't tell your
gorilla
parents.
clitoris.
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that.
I don't want to be responsible.
But I feel like we're fairly tame as far as internet
Even though me and
standards.
my brother, when we were young, we would have been like,
And you didn't have the internet.
no.
And you wouldn't.
My
and you
parents are
used
lucky
shit.
I didn't have the
Yeah,
internet
exactly.
when I was a kid.
Exactly.
My
These kids
generation didn't
no.
have the internet because
These
it wouldn't
kids,
have been
no.
good.
Totally no. But this is what main events are meant to be. We have a profile 205-pound bout with Yan Blachowicz versus Thiago Santos, moving up for 185 pounds. He says he's willing to go back to 85 when he needs to. I don't think he needs to. Thiago Santos has looked all sorts of good in there, coming off of a fight winning streak, knocking out in there as well Lionheart Smith, but 2 months ago he was in a fight of the year contender with Jimmy Manawa, getting him out of there. The 20-6 fighter is 35 years old, but if there's somebody, I don't know if Santos has fought in the States, but I want to say he hasn't. I want to say he's fought in Brazil a lot and other parts in the world, and it looks like it at 205 pounds.
Yeah.
He did not look 35. That was a little surprising every
Yeah.
time.
He
He's
always looks like the juice is loose.
Extra juicy.
Yeah.
He got the extra pulp.
He all looks Nicole Brown Simpson. The juice is loose.
And he eats horse meat because he thick. He
That's
thick.
horrible.
To
I
say
laughed about
that.
a woman's death. Sorry, and the family of Nicole Brown Simpson, if you're listening.
Just also, we know we are avid listeners of Cole Branson's family. We know.
Sorry, Khloe Kardashian, if you're listening.
Of course. But the same could be said, I would say, for the 23-7 Jan Blachowicz. People might find that a little blasphemous, but look at his first fights to now. Jan has fought mainly abroad. He fought in the States once. He looked flabby as shit. Ever since, every time we've seen Jan on the scale, I'm like, ooh, Jan looks good. Jan looks hella good.
You're right.
And
That
Blachowicz,
body gotten tight.
and he's not the youngest cat at 35 years old as well. He's had a long career. He's actually made a good showing himself, coming off of 4 wins in a row.
They're virtually identical.
Well, there is a bit of a different styles because they
Totally
do
different
approach
styles,
They approach it a bit
Just
differently.
their stats as far as their reach and their height and they're close enough.
Definitely. Where Jan Blachowicz is the
Age.
better, well-rounded fighter for me, 100%. And I think that's not crazy. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Jan Blachowicz has better takedowns, better grappling. On the ground, by far, is superior. And actually, Thiago Santos is really exposed on the ground. And Blachowicz has everything to be able to get it there.
Isn't he a black belt, Thiago Santos?
If he is, he got it out of a Cracker Jack box. Because remember the minus 500 favorite who lost to Eric freaking whoever? He lost to, not David Branch, which isn't a bad loss at all. Who was it? It was a guy who's not even in the UFC anymore at 85 because he took him down and got submitted. We see the holes with Thiago Santos. The issue with Santos that people have is they can't get out of that striking mentality, and then he's been pinning with other strikers. But the wrestlers, they can't get close enough in time to put him out of there because he is a highlight reel fighter. Thiago Santos is going to be known as one of the funnest fighters of all time. Ask Elias Theodoa, one of the few guys to be able to get him out of there. I mean, jumping, spinning kicks randomly, and random is random. This guy is random in his strikes, throws spinning heel kicks, tons of power, throws a hard body shot. Thiago Santos actually jumps into a body and head kick, so it's really deceptive because that's how he'll throw it twice to the body jumping, and then the third time he'll throw it to your head and he'll catch you, and he throws all his weight into it. The thing is that he expects that to land so hard that he can get off of the ground and be fine. Where Blachowicz capitalizes on that stuff. Get to the ground once with Blachowicz, he will swarm you, put in the hooks, start to drag you out, get that rear naked choke in. And Blachowicz has a sneaky left kick as well. Blachowicz throws that to the body well. Ask Lear Latifi. Ask quite a few other fighters in there that have been susceptible.
Jan Bustyliva Blachowicz?
Exactly. He throws it hard.
Bustyliva?
Throws it hard, throws good punch combinations off of it, and is actually sets you up a bit more. So we have more of the grinder against the power striker who Macheta is by far one of the most powerful guys we've ever seen in there. Also, here at Lat-B, we like to profile some of the worst tattoos of all time. Now that Macheta's getting a lot more artwork done, it's actually coming together a lot better. Now that it's just not a humongous hammer in the middle of his chest, it's not so bad. Now he has both shoulders, both arms are getting filled in. But back to the breakdown.
I don't remember it with more work. I just picture that big hammer.
No, there's more. You'll see. You'll see by weigh-ins time. And the more and more I start to break this fight down, I have Thiago Santos TKO round number 1 because he's just dynamite. It's must-watch UFC.
This
Absolutely
is...
must-watch. But as I break it down quickly, sorry.
No.
I'm switching to Jan Blachowicz to get this to the ground and win via submission round number 1. I switched on air. I had Santos TKO round number 1. I'm switching it. As I'm breaking it down, Blachowicz is the better fighter in here. It's just... See, you can't bank on that. He's a puncher. He's a puncher's chance. It's the epitome of a puncher's chance, Thiago Santos.
I feel like there's one word for both guys, and it's those two words, in my opinion, going at each other. It's precision versus chaos. It's Jan Blachowicz. It's complete precision in every way, down to that liver shot that you pointed out. Like, it's in there like a knife. Yeah. When you watch it in fights, and it's not just the Latifi fight. Like, if Devin Clark fight, when you watch it happen, you can't do anything to strengthen that. What is that, your floating rib?
Yeah, liver. Like, it's your liver.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say Santos does gas as well.
Well, and the other thing, if you think back even to the Jimmy Manawa fight, yes, he did knock Jimmy Manawa out, but Jimmy hurt him fucking bad. And that was only a few months ago, and that was a really short amount of time. I feel like Santos, toward the end of his career, he's just...
Getting the fights in.
So many fights, like anytime, anywhere, just fast together. Jan Blachowicz is the exact opposite of that. I feel like their fighting styles are indicative of even their lives, maybe. Like, it just seems like chaos versus precision. And I have maybe gone against Jan Blachowicz 2 times in my whole going against him, and one of them was with Gus, and the other one was against the first time Jimmy Manawa and Jan, or against the first time him and Jimmy fought, which weren't bad. But I've picked him every other time, and I gotta pick him this time. It's not a short notice fight.
Yep.
It's not just a crapshoot that he's just coming in. He's a really trained guy. He knows what he's getting in there with, and like you're saying, that black explosive, I know Santos isn't, like, I know he's a Brazilian guy, but that black explosive is entirely indicative of his body. He just comes out, total chaos, even if he gets hurt, as long as you kind of like a whip with like if you were at the circus and you're in the cage with a cat, if you keep it at bay long enough, he can totally control the fight. And then I think it takes a little longer, though. I think both guys are going to get hurt in round 1, and then as round 2 and round 3 go on, it becomes one for the ages. I'm picking this, as always, on air, and I'm such a huge fan of Jan, but Thiago is a scary MFer in there, and he's like a game of craps, like throwing dice against a wall. Anything could happen. I think you pepper him on a few cards, but I don't think you put all your weird things together. I know he's the favorite here. I just think he should be the underdog.
Who's the favorite here?
Oh, I thought Thiago was.
Oh, this is a -115 pick'ems type of a fight.
That's
and
how
I
it should
agree.
be.
I 100% agree. The line is right here. I totally agree. You can't stack this fight either. It's one or the other. Because this is a finish, or this isn't a decision type of a fight. This is get him out of there. 5 rounds doesn't even matter here at all. But
every second that goes on, Blachowicz takes over.
I agree. That's why I'm actually switching from submission round number 1 to submission round number 2. I think Blachowicz just weathers the storm because he can put a good game plan together. I like everything you're saying.
120 seconds. He is a very dangerous 120 seconds, and if he survives that, every single second from 121 all the way to the end of the 15-minute mark, he takes over that fight. And he can, or it's not even 15 minutes, a 5-round, it's not going to go there. Yeah, he'll submit him once it's all over with, I think with the body shot and then set up for the submission. Blonde, I'm going to pick round 2, actually.
I like round 2 for what?
Submission for Yan.
That's what I just literally switched to myself. Just saying, fans. And on the main card, I feel like there's also when we agree on the main card, it gets pretty hairy in there. But Thiago Santos, I have been right out of his last 6 fights. I picked the Branch fight, which he was a huge favorite in as well. And it was because of that submission. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in the same spot here. So I'm going to stick to that train. Love what you're saying. One or the other. You got all the bets you want. You got all the bets you need.
I love Yan. And really, you guys, thank you. And we love you so much. And I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Let's go the bean!
Thanks for listening to Lat B. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.